There's a girl I know, he loves her so. I am not that girl.
But maybe she is.
Hello, welcome to Real Takes.
Movie breaks.
And today we are reviewing the film Wicked! This will be our spoiler review, so if you don't want spoilers, click the link in the description for our no spoiler review. And now we'll get into a little more depth about what we liked, what we didn't like, and if we would recommend watching this in the theater.
So, there's a lot of things that I like about this film. I think it's a very colorful, well-written, well-conceived idea. The Wicked books I read a little bit of. I know a little bit about the story, and it was sort of the origin story of Elphaba. All of that. I thought that the musical numbers were just spectacular. It's just some of the best musical anything you'll ever see. Amazingly well made film. I thought the actors were very good. I thought Ariana Grande especially was very impressive. Just to me, kind of a home run with Ariana Grande, and the other actors I thought were really fine as well. One of the issues that I had when I was watching it, well, first of all, I think it's a little long. It's part 1, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to get into part 2, and I really want to see part 2. I want to know what happens and everything. It's like 3 hours long, so it's very, very long. Now, it's really good, so you can get away with that. You know, I personally sort of felt like there were a few moments, there were a few bits and different things I kind of sensed. I'm not sure if they're hitting these moments quite how they do on the Broadway show, for instance. Like, I feel like some of the lines, some of the bits, some of the moments, the chemistry, like for instance Elphaba, I feel like she perhaps is a little more of a prickly character than how she's portrayed in this iteration. I like how she's portrayed in this iteration. I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm just saying I feel like the way it's written, the two characters, Glinda and Elphaba, have to clash in a certain way that is really satisfying once they become friends, right? Because they're kind of enemies, and then they become friends. So that kind of, I was kind of thrown in. I was like, just some bits of it felt a little bit off, and then also the Elphaba character is, in essence, I'm guessing. I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm guessing that she ends up becoming the Wicked Witch of the West in the original Wizard of Oz. And it's very difficult for me to believe that this very sort of pristine, noble character that is all about her studies and doing the right thing and all of this is going to become my little pretty and your little dog too. It's hard for me to believe that that's what she does become. Mm-hmm. So a few little things here and there kind of throw me off, but in the end, all of it together as a whole, I thought made for a very just class, top shelf musical all around.
So that is his feedback based on his first time seeing the movie without having ever seen the live production. So my perspective is a little different because I have seen the live production a couple of times and I love the live production. So I'm very familiar with the writing, and I was a little nervous going in just because I love the live production so much, and I've seen plenty of film adaptations of live productions that were a bit underwhelming. So I didn't want to have too high expectations going in, but it really blew me away. And I think part of the reason is the director using a lot of practical aesthetics and really wonderful art direction combined with CGI, as opposed to just relying on CGI. And I think that helped you really get drawn into the world, all the realistic sets that he built. I think that was really effective. I heard that this director actually grew like 1,000,000 tulips or something like that for the Yellow Brick Road. And all the visuals were just absolutely breathtaking and beautiful. I saw it twice. So I saw it in 3D. And seeing it in 3D, it just made everything pop even more. So that was really fantastic. I loved the acting. I think all the actors were very strong. To your point in regards to the character of Elphaba, I was telling you that sometimes in the live production, Elphaba is portrayed as a little more sarcastic and a little bit more of a smart aleck than she was portrayed in this. In this version, she seems to portray more of like a soulfulness and more of a softness compared to other versions of Elphaba I've seen in the live production, where she's kind of like a wisecracking, like sarcastic witch. So I did kind of miss that element, but I overall I think all the actors were wonderful. All the singers were great. They harmonized their voices really well. Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande both harmonized their voices really well. And I grew up as a dancer. I performed in a lot of musicals, so I love musical theater. And I was very impressed by all the dance numbers. I think Dancing Through Life was probably my favorite dance number in this. Jonathan Bailey, who played Fiyero, he's got that charm, he's got that charisma, he's got that great attitude where he comes off a bit shallow, but then there's something more beneath the surface. I think he did a great job. And he did the backflips himself. He did all that dancing himself. So that was probably my favorite dance number. My other favorite dance number was at the ballroom when Elphaba shows up with the hat on and Glinda decides to rescue her from the embarrassment and do the same awkward dance she just did to try to help her fit in and become popular. That whole moment between the two of them, it was so well directed and so well acted. I got really emotional watching it. So that was my second favorite dance number. And then Popular, I just loved everything they did with that song. Popular, you're gonna be popular. Ariana Grande, she nailed the part. And Ariana Grande really carried the show. Every time she was on stage with anyone, it felt like she had great chemistry with everyone. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing I didn't really like about it. I didn't mind that it was so long, just because I didn't get bored once. I was like hooked the whole time. So unlike you, I didn't mind the length. And even though it was just part one, I still feel like the ending on Defying Gravity, that is the perfect place to end part one. I was so hoping that I was going to hear Defying Gravity and that's how it would end. So I was very delighted when she sang Defying Gravity, and she sang it in such a powerful, moving way. So I've been singing it ever since I saw the movie. I can't get it out of my head. So I love that they ended the movie on that note. Jeff Goldblum, he did a great job with it. I'll say this. My one criticism is the singing between Jeff Goldblum and Michelle Yeoh is no doubt a wonderful actress. I wouldn't say she's a strong singer. Just like Jeff Goldblum, he's great at playing quirky, weird characters, and he did a great job portraying the character, but not the best singer. My only other criticism would be that Fiyero didn't really look like he was in college, but so what? He played the part really well. So I guess if I had to criticize something, it would just be that. But that's it. I loved it, and I would definitely recommend watching it with the whole family.
Yeah, so I think that I'm going to reserve judgment on the whole thing until I see part two. When I see part two, and if part two just knocks it out of the park and it's a grand slam, which every indication seems to be that it would, then I'll give this, the highest rating possible. I think my issue comes from I didn't see the Broadway show. I noticed little things about the writing. I noticed that there are moments that they tried to translate from the stage to film. And some of those moments don't always translate. For instance, when she gives Elphaba the witch's hat, Elphaba goes and tells Michelle Yeoh that she wants her to give Glinda a training wand and let her into the Magician's Guild or whatever it's called. And that little moment is, to me, just not very clear about what's actually going on when Michelle Yeoh shows up and gives her the training wand. I feel like on stage, that moment is very clear. It's you know exactly the dynamic that's happening there. The whole thing with the hat being stylish, they tricked her. She's coming in with the hat. Then she realizes that she was tricked. And then Glinda steps up and becomes her friend. I mean, yes, I get it. And, I feel like those moments didn't always hit as hard as they could. They were kind of modulated for the medium of film. And sometimes that works. Sometimes it's a little fuzzy, I guess. And those are like my little nitpicks. Yeah, I mean, the original Wizard of Oz is sort of this monolithic film, like if you were to go back and watch it now, after watching this, I almost feel like it would be anticlimactic because it's so old, right? Like it's 1939 or something when the original came out, and it was like one of the first color films where they used Technicolor. So I mean, they're like, it's like this novelty of the era, almost like a 2001: A Space Odyssey or something. What we have here is sort of an original. That's what I like about it, is that it's actually an original thing that kind of operates in some ways independent of the original Wizard of Oz, which is amazing that you would have something like that. Like if you take Star Wars, for example. Star Wars is like, in my opinion, very much like Wizard of Oz. It sort of follows the same formula. There's a lot of Star Wars sequels and prequels and things that came out later, and they all are very much codependent with the originals. They're much like, well, we're kind of inspired by it, we're building on, or we're doing this and we're doing that with the originals. This is truly in its own thing, separate from the original Wizard of Oz.
Yes, if you had not watched the original Wizard of Oz, this movie could stand alone. And it is the backstory of the Wicked Witch of the West, and there's so many different iterations of Oz. This is my favorite iteration because I love, especially in part 2, you'll see that the moral ambiguity of questioning what is good, what is wicked, it really starts to evolve in the second half of the show. So I'm really excited to see part 2, because that's when like the deeper themes of the movie really start to come out and make you think. So I'm excited to see the second half of this specific iteration, but I really like the writing of Wicked for that reason, is the deeper themes. And I feel like we can all kind of identify with Elphaba in some ways, and we can all kind of identify with Glinda in some ways. And it is fun, if you are familiar with The Wizard of Oz, to think about how all those characters came to be, and to understand the backstory about how the Scarecrow and the Tin Men came to be. And that's not explained until the second half.
Oh, well, we'll look forward to that. So has your rating of it changed at all since our non-spoiler review?
So on a scale of 1 to 5, I would rate it 5 out of 5.
She gives it a 5.
And I would recommend the whole family see it. It's a family-friendly movie.
I give it a 4. I give it a 4 with the reservation of, if they kill it with part 2, then I will give it a 4.5, maybe 5. To give it a 5 is a lot. Like to me, 5 is The Godfather. Like it'd be really hard It'd be really, really. It's really hard for me.
And I'm a little biased just because I love musical theater and I love the show. So, but let us know your thoughts. Let us know what your favorite parts of the show are. Let us know what your favorite song is from Wicked. And I mean, let us know. Do you think the movie lived up to the hype? Or not? I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. So feel free to comment below. One of the great things about movies is that movies can stimulate conversation. So please comment. Let us know how this movie experience was for you. And
and also, look, I know that there's just not always that many good movies. It's just a fact. There's just not many of them that are out there. And this one is. And when that happens, when you see something that's good and that you enjoy, it's exciting. It's like it's inspiring. And I think that everyone kind of needs that from time to time. Like, oh, it's a really good one that I'm excited about and thinking about. So I am happy for that for people.
Yes, and it is a movie that I would recommend seeing it with people you care about because of the theme of friendship and loyalty and love and all of that stuff. So I hope you all enjoy it as much as I do, but please feel free to comment below. Let us know your thoughts, and I'd be happy to engage in conversation. In the meantime, if there are any films you would like us to review or react to, comment below. And please subscribe to our channel so you never miss another review. And in the meantime, stay real.
And have great, great, wonderful takes.